So I, some time ago, saw a nurse who had had a really difficult experience on her ward. She'd had someone die in what had been a very traumatic way, and she had felt that things were not managed as well as she might have liked them to be, and that there were things that if she'd had the opportunity again, she might have done differently. Now, after that experience, she took some time off work and then gradually tried to return to work, initially going to a more community setting. But what she started finding was that whenever she was doing the household chores, if she was using strong disinfectants, that would prompt the memory of the traumatic experience. And I think that's really interesting because we do know that smell is a very powerful trigger to make us remember things. And I think many of us have had that experience of, for me, it's things like sometimes smelling cut grass takes me right back to the experiences of childhood in a way that you often can't access otherwise. Now, for this young nurse, I think what was happening was that every time she was smelling that strong disinfectant, that took her back to the ward. And in that way, it stirred up memories that I think she was probably avoiding and working very hard not to think about, but hadn't really been processed. I think it's a great question. And I think there is something about being able to just notice when people look like they might be at the end of their tether. I think we all have what we might call a kind of tipping point at which, we're under stress, we're struggling, we're really giving it our all, but at some point something starts to give. And we have to sort of, first of all, be aware enough of what's going on in ourselves to notice it, but to be looking out for it in our colleagues as well. Now, when I was talking about that nurse earlier, I thought there was also something in that story, a story that might provide other clues to look out for. Because one thing that I think made it really difficult for her was to feel that not everything was done that could have been, that she held some guilt around that. And I think more than that, and a lot of people are starting to talk about this, the kind of whole question about moral injury. So when people feel that there is something about the situation that they're placed in that doesn't feel ethically right to them. And I think this has been part of why it's been so important that there's been open discussions about how do doctors make decisions about who gets treated with ventilators and who might not be offered that treatment. That as a community we need to hold that, as a society we need to hold it, and not just have it on one or two people, because that is also likely to lead to their tipping point being much sooner. So we need to look out for those sorts of things in our colleagues as well. I also think there's just something about when people are starting to shut down. I think that there is, in that kind of connection that we all need to have, if people are beginning to avoid, it's a really big sign. I think to be taken out of your usual setting and your usual supportive container can be really difficult, even if it feels like you have volunteered. I also think that trying to find your way into a new team, and sometimes for the team to feel it's all right for you to be there and to be settled in a new team can be really difficult, and that might put you a bit more at risk. And to feel that you're trying to learn how to do something new when everything is so pressured can also be problematic. So redeployed staff might just need a little bit of extra help too.